Welcome back to Mike's Man Cave and welcome back to another how-to video. Today I'm going to show you how to easily install a little flashing red LED light on your dash, like a fake car alarm. Now these are handy and cheap, and once you've set this up it will work for years and years and years. And let's look at it this way. I don't like car alarms in cars. False alarms. They're just very common to have false alarms going off. And look, have you been in the shopping centre and heard a car alarm going off? Do you see people rushing to check on the car? No. No one cares. People just keep walking and completely ignore the sirens and all the racket that's going on. The only people that won't ignore it is your neighbours when your car alarm goes off every night and wakes them up from their sleep. They will complain about your car alarm. They won't be looking for anyone stealing your car. They'll just be wanting you to not turn your car alarm on. So why would you want a flashing light on your dash? Let's imagine there's two cars parked in a car park. Very similar. And the thief is thinking about stealing one of them. One's got a flashing red LED light on the dash, the other one doesn't. Now chances are he's going to steal the one that doesn't have the light. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway. You can buy these things online. In Australia, you buy this little LED light, comes in this packet at Jaycar Electronics for under $10. I'll put the exact price up here on the screen for you, just so you know how much it did cost at the time of making the video. But it was less than $10. And it's just an LED light, and it actually flashes when you connect power to it. I've bought a few of these, and I actually always have a spare one lying around in my shed. Only if one ever dies, I can easily just replace it. Okay, it's a very simple job. Anyone can do this. Now I'm installing this one here in my work van, and I've already done the pre-work. I've taken out the little panel, like a little switch panel that's in the car. Now you can mount the light wherever you want. You just got to drill a small hole somewhere in your dash or on your console to install the light. I recommend doing it in a highly visible spot. Now there's only two wires to connect. The red one is the positive, and the red and black one is the negative. Now I've got a small 12 volt battery here that I use to test a lot of circuits. I've had this battery for years, and I use this when I do wiring and when I want to bench test circuits and all that sort of stuff. These come in really handy. I've had this for years, and I hook it up to a charger every now and then to make sure it works. What I'll do now for you is I'll show you this little light flashing. Now I've set this up for demonstration purposes. Here's the little light mounted in the switch panel, and just so you can see it flash, I'll connect the red one to the positive and I'll connect the black one to the negative. Now this is what the light's going to be doing in your car, on your dash. Now I have seen people tell you to wire a switch into it, and so you can turn the light on and off. There's no need for any of that. There's such a thing as a floating ground in your car, and I will show you how that works on the car in about 30 seconds when we get over there, and I'll show you how to wire this up. And realistically, only tools you require is a cheap test light. Like, you can buy a test light for less than $10, and maybe it's not even really necessary, you need a soldering iron. Now I like to solder all my joints, but realistically you could just twist the wire around and tape it up with some electrical tape and you're done. And no, this won't drain your battery. It's a tiny little LED light. This can flash for weeks and weeks and weeks on your car battery. It's not going to drain your battery in a few hours, overnight, or even in a week. It's not going to happen. If your battery goes flat while this is connected, it's going flat for another reason. Let's go over to the car and I'll show you how to wire this up. I've got most of my dash pulled out at the moment because I'm running some extra cables and doing a lot of extra work. I'm also doing some repairs to the heater box unit behind here. So I thought while I've got all this out, I'll install the flashing light. So it makes it a little bit easier while everything's apart. This is the stereo wiring harness, And I've already gone and tested with my test light all these wires. So this is a positive power supply that's live all the time. You can see that. When I touch the wire, the light comes on even though the ignition is turned off. So this is permanent power, and this is actually the memory cable to your stereo system so that your stereo remembers all the settings. So you've got permanent positive power, and then you've got accessory power here, which is controlled by the ignition switch. So when I turn on the key in the car, power comes to this. See, currently there's no power there. And this is the wire that actually powers the stereo system. So when I turn the car off, obviously the stereo turns off, and this keeps providing power to another wire on the stereo, so it keeps its preset memories. But the actual music and all the physical functions of your stereo have stopped because there's no power coming to this wire. So I'm just going to turn the ignition on for you so you can see the power, that this will get power when the ignition is on. I'm not in the picture at the moment, but I'm turning the ignition on. So now the ignition is on as if the car would be running. And I've labelled this accessory ACC, and now you can see the clocks come on. So now the actual car would be running, and have a look at that. We've got power, and this one's still got power also. Okay, this one's got power all the time, and that's the accessory power. Now I found the easiest place to find these wires at your car stereo, because your car stereo always, in 99.99% of all cars, always has permanent power and accessory power. Okay, these are the only two wires you need to worry about. Remember, we had our two cables here. We had the red one, which was positive power. So what we do is we connect the red one to the permanent power. So the red one has power all the time. Okay, so there's power going to the red cable all the time, which will allow this light to flash. I'm just going to put the light there just so you can see what's happening. Now we get the black, which is actually the earth cable, and we connect it to the accessory power, the cable that only has power when your key is in the on position. So we connect it to that. Now obviously when I do my final connections, I'll be soldering these connections, and then I'll be putting a heat shrink or some electrical tape over the top. But this is just to show you how to wire this up. So now you can notice the ignition is still on because our clock is still working up here, and the light's not flashing. So I'm driving along and this is what our light is doing. So this accessory has got power going to it at the moment, and it stops this light from flashing, and it's called a floating ground. When I turn the ignition off, and you'll see this light go out, this will then become a negative power, like it'll be an earth to the positive here, and it will then activate this flashing light, just like magic. Let's turn off the ignition and you'll see it in action. Okay, ignition getting turned off. And this is what will happen each time you park your car. Then when you come back to your car and you start it again, and you turn the ignition back on to start your car, the light stops flashing, just like magic. You turn the ignition off, it starts flashing. Once I've finalised these connections, this will work like this forever, or well, as long as the LED will last till it wears out, and then I can spend another $10 or whatever it was and buy another one and easily replace it. Now you can place that little LED light anywhere in your car. I recommend putting it somewhere on your dash, either near your car stereo or near your ignition switch, where people can see it. So when someone walks past and just looks at your car, they'll see that light. So you'll have to, figure out exactly where you want that light depending on your car, and every car's different. So that's up to you. Now, if you've got any questions about anything you saw in this video, leave your question down below in the comment section, and I will try and answer it to the best of my ability. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, useful at all, do me a favour, give me a big thumbs up, and don't forget to smash the subscribe button for more videos from Mike's Man Cave. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.